Good morning, and we are in uh, section 136, and we're on verse 12 through 22, I believe. Um, and we've been talking about the captains of 50, captains of hundreds, and captains of tens, and also presidencies over these companies that they're doing. Um, And now they're going to name some of I guess these are presidents over the companies, but they're basically the ones that have to organize the companies and find the tens and fifties and hundreds of captains. Um, Let my servants Everstorff Benson and Erastus Snow organize a company. So I don't really want to go through all of these, only because there's so much. But Ezra T. Benson, sorry I said Taft. I think that's still for Taft, but I wanted to bring him up because of his connection with with Ezra Taft Benson. Uh, so he um lived what is it, 1969, 1869, about in his 50s, I guess, but he was a farmer, hotelier, postmaster, merchant, born in Morden, Worcester County, Massachusetts, son of John Benson and Chloe Taft, hence the Taft. Married Pamela Andress uh, in 1832 in Northbridge, Worcester County, and moved to Quincy, Adams County, Illinois. By winter of 1838, baptized into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in July 1840 in Quincy, ordained an elder October 40 in Nauvoo, Hancock County, Illinois, ordained a high priest, um, appointed second counselor in the Quincy State Presidency, served missions to the eastern United States, participated in plural marriage during Joseph Smith's lifetime, ordained an apostle, 16th of July, 1846, at what became Council Bluffs, Pottawatomie County, Iowa, migrated to Salt Lake Valley with Brigham Young, with Brigham Young Pioneer Company, arriving uh, 24th of July, served in Utah Territorial Legislature, served as a counselor in the British European Mission, and appointed as president of Cache County Stake um, in 1860. Um, served a mission to the Sandwich Isles in 1864 and died at Ogden um, and buried in Logan. And then here we have uh, Ezra T. Benson, the great great grandfather of President Ezra Taft Benson, was the first apostle called to the Quorum of the 12 Apostles after the death of Joseph Smith. He traveled with the first group and entered the Salt Lake Valley on July 24, 1847. George T. Benson, the great grandfather of the grandfather of Ezra Taft Benson, was born at Garden Grove, Iowa. That is just a little bit on Ezra Taft Benson. I just thought is good. I remember growing up, Ezra Taft Benson, not Ezra Taft T. Benson, was the prophet when I went on my mission. And I think it's significant in my life. And I remember hearing little stories of Ezra T. Benson um, when Ezra Taft Benson would give talks and things. He would often mention his pioneer ancestry, and I think it's important to note um, as we go through these names. I'd like to go through every name like we have at other times and look at each one. I did promise that these were going to be shorter this week, and they haven't been because there's so much. There's so much you can look up and everything about the Exodus um, and the people behind it. Is so interesting, and there's so much on the death of the prophet as well, um, Prophet Joseph Smith and his brother Hiram, that I just can't seem to keep it down to just a few minutes. But look at the names on here and think about um, history. We've got Let My Servants Orson Pratt and Wilford Woodruff organize companies. Of course, Wilford Woodruff would become the president of the um, church um, later in life. Let My Servants Amasa Lyman. I believe we've heard of the Lymans have been part of the church. He, um, from an early age, and then George H. Smith, which was a cousin to the prophet Joseph Smith, organized a company. So we've got these men, and you can look up their things. And as you see on my notes, I decided to put their um, little biographies, really small biographies, in um, uh, in the notes um, on the side, so they're easy to get to. And appoint presidents and captains of hundreds and fifties and tens. I don't know why I put a note there. Oh, that's on Rest of Snow. Um, I'm not sure why Arrest of Snow is down there, but um, he should be up at the top. Maybe I got it doubled up. Anyway, so they were to appoint the presidents, the captains, the hundreds and fifties and tens. Um, I think it's important to note that then that um, they were organizing these things that President Brigham Young has put into practice. Let my servants that have been appointed go and teach this, my will. Notice again, they're to teach this what we're reading, my will. Whose will? The Father's will, to the saints, that they may be ready to go to a land of peace. That must have really given a lot of security to say, go to a land of peace. Um, Go thy way and do as I have told you, and fear not thine enemies, for they shall not have power to stop my work. Remember, all this is going through President Young's mind anyway, because he wanted to be in the valley by then with the vanguard, and yet there's so many saints to look after, and so many saints just trying to leave Nauvoo that he needed to stay back. Zion shall be redeemed in my own due time, and if any man shall seek to build up himself and seeketh not my counsel, he shall have no power, and his folly shall be made manifest. Um, I'm sure that well, remember at that time there was a lot of different things going on, and people were, um, what's the word? They were complaining a lot. And so this was to relax that and say, if you're going to have problems, you're not going to have power, first of all, and your folly shall be manifest. Um, Seek ye and keep all your pledges one with another, and covet not that which thy is thy brother's. And now we're getting into things that they should be doing on the journey. And remember last time yesterday, I compared these companies with um, wards, and think about what he's saying here in your ward. What would happen if your ward did these things? Seek ye and keep all your pledges one with another, and covet not that which is thy brother's. That's good advice, no matter where you are and how you look at it. Keep yourselves from evil, to take the name of the Lord in vain. So now he's going into the Ten Commandments almost, but he's putting it in different words. For I am the Lord your God, even the God of your fathers, and the God of Abraham, and of Isaac, and of Jacob. Notice how much red is here. This is because it's not um, just Brigham Young speaking, it is the Lord. I am he who led the children of Israel out of Egypt. My arm is stretched out in the last days to save the people of Israel. What a beautiful way to talk. I am he who led the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, and my arm is stretched out in the last days to save my people, Israel. And we've often talked about the Lord having his arm stretched out. So even through their afflictions, he's still there. And I think Brigham Young really believed that um, for good reason. And that is why he was able to lead the people. In fact, one of the things I was reading um, today is uh, he was going to have a fairly big company, and then I think it had something like 100 and I can't remember, just around 120, 150 men and women and children, I think, go with him as the vanguard company rather than a huge group. And one of the things that he said that they needed to do was they only had a something like 100 pounds um, of flour to take with them per person for the whole journey, which was going to take a few months. Um, and I guess, well, and then he kind of says if you can't do that, then you shouldn't be going right then. Wait until later, sort of thing. Um, he wanted a people who was going to rely on the Lord, and he felt that that was how is going to be done is only if they rely on the Lord to get across all that journeying that they needed to do. And so that is how he um, ran things. And I think that that's significant. And I could go through more history and things, and I don't think you need that. You need to get into it yourself. I hope you're getting something from these videos, but for the most part, it's so amazing just to sit there and read these things. I'll spend over an hour sitting there reading things and then think, okay, how am I going to condense this down? It's really hard sometimes. So I hope you take the time for yourselves when you get a chance. If this is all you get to do, read the scriptures first and take the time. I mean, I've read these things for years, and I've gained more this year than I ever have in all the years um, I've studied these, and I hope you will too. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and we're going to get back into this tomorrow. So we'll see you tomorrow.